All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Santa Claus, Mayor Pro Tem, the city of North Pole in Alaska. Today's date is 9/6/22, and we're beginning our council meeting at 7:02 p.m. Welcome. Madam Clerk, would you please call to order the roll call?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Keller? Absent. Mr. Claus?
Here?
Mr. Kermer?
Here.
Mr. Skips?
Here.
Mrs. Welch?
Here.
Mr. Jacobson?
Here.
Mr. Mayor? Is absent as well.
And Mr. Jacobson, would you please give the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Ms. Welch, invocation, please.
You may bow your head and pray with me if you so choose. Lord, we come before you tonight as the City Council of North Pole. We ask that you give us wisdom to consider the things that are before us tonight. We ask that you keep in your safe hands all our first responders, our police, our fire and rescue, and all those who work for our city to make sure that we have comfortable lives. We ask that you also at this time keep our military safe from harm in any which way. Finally, we ask that you keep all our citizens and those who are sick and those who cannot be with us tonight, that they are safe and secure and have peace in their minds. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, our next item is number 4, approval of agenda. May I have a
Move to
motion?
approve.
Second,
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
move to amend the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
No, we don't need that yet. Consenting item under old business B and item B under new business.
Thank you.
Now you need a second.
Second.
No
Skips.
discussion. Thank you. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Mr. Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Skips?
Yes.
Mrs. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Kermer?
Yes.
Thank you. And the amendment is? Oh, yeah, you already said it. I'm sorry, B and B.
Right.
Got it. All right, that's done. And we would go back to the original motion for a vote.
Okay. Mrs. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Kermer?
Yes.
Mr. Skips?
Yes.
Mr. Claus?
Yes. All right, thank you. Up next is number 5, approval of the minutes from August 15th, 2022. That's pages 3 through 10 in our packet. Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second. Cromer.
Thank you. Would you please, Madam Clerk, please call the roll?
Mr. Skips?
Yes.
Mr. Kermer?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Claus?
Yes.
Mrs. Welch?
Yes.
Thank you. That's been approved. Now we go to communications from the mayor, and the mayor is at a symposium right now, and he and our director of city services are both taking on courses on grant writing, water and sewer, energy, and transportation. So they kind of have their hands full at the moment. They check in once in a while, but they should be back definitely in time for our next meeting. So that's the communications indirectly from the mayor. And I'd be happy to field any council member questions to the mayor, but I'm not sure I can answer them, but you're welcome to ask. All right, thank you. Seeing no questions, it's time for communications from department heads, the borough representative, and city clerk. So let's go to Ms. Fogarty, please.
Okay, good evening. I don't have a lot. I was gonna have financials for you today because last week we got caught up. We're caught up on our bank recs and but when I pulled reports from Cassell and compared them to Tyler, there was a little discrepancy. And I think what's happening is all the funds come in as taxes. And we had several different people working on a spreadsheet. And so I think there's just a little adjustment that needs to be made. And if I send them out again, I want them to be correct. So anyway, we're happy to be caught up, and we're got a few things we're going to go now and start working on 2023's budget. So, but we will. I feel like we're gaining ground, and so it's really nice to have a full-time staff and an experienced one as well. Sally has made a huge difference, and very happy about that. And I'll entertain any questions, but that's all I have today.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next up is Police Chief Dutra.
Thank you, Councilman Claus. Well, good evening, council members. Just a few notes. I had sent my notes to the council earlier today. The lieutenant oral boards occurred, and we had a pretty good testing. Everybody that came sat on the board was very impressed with our procedures. So we should have the written test done on the 12th, and hopefully have a finalist just shortly after that. We think about 7 to 10 days following that written testing, we get the results. So we're excited about that. I just want to thank Ellen for all her help putting that together. She was super helpful, and she chaired that oral boards, and she did a great job. So next, we did provide some traffic enforcement plan to the council, and that was at the mayor's request so that the council can understand what our ideas are for taking a look at 2 problem areas that the mayor perceives as having some speeding problems. So we have implemented some traffic enforcement, some heavy enforcement for the next 7 days, starting on Sunday on both St. Nicholas and Santa Claus. And we're going to take a look at some traffic data from the data counters and kind of get back to the council and the mayor an idea of, or really basically a breakdown of what it looks like as far as the traffic problems. So stay tuned on that. And you have that if you want to ask me any questions about it. I'd be happy to answer questions. I gave you the July and August stats for you to look at. There's not a whole lot of interesting stuff there, but not a lot of increases. There's an increase in some larcenies. I noticed there was a little higher number than normal. That's a lot of it's contributed to school starting, and so had a little bit more than normal calls for Safeway for shoplifting. But other than that, most things were fairly static. There is an increase in traffic. If you notice that, there's year over year, there's a significant increase since we're putting a big emphasis on controlling the traffic and the ever increasing traffic problems. So that's there. And we have 1 car that's completed in California. The other one's still waiting for parts, obviously delayed due to COVID and the supply chain issues. So we're going to have the first car shipped up here and hopefully get that up here within the next 3 weeks to a month and get that decals put on that car and get it on the road. Next, I have Alice training scheduled for the school district principals and vice principals on the 13th. That'll be done at Nordale. That's to help kick off the school district's Big Alice push for this year. And I'm glad to see that they're continuing that effort that we started about 4 years ago. So that's exciting. It'll be pretty much a 6-hour event there to train all those principals and vice principals. And North Pole PD, just so you know, not to brag, but I guess I am bragging. North Pole PD is taking the lead on this. We're the only agency left in the area that has still 2 current Alice instructors. So just wanted you guys to know that we're making sure we lead the way on that, making sure our schools are prepared. Lieutenant Lynn Haig's official retirement date is the 19th. We wish him the best. It is the next adventure. He'll come back for a day, turn in all his gear, and I'll inspect everything and make sure he leaves everything in tip-top shape. But we do wish him the best. If you notice, the Connex was moved from the back of the building and moved into its new home. Again, I just want to say thank you to Cody and the Public Works and Danny for making that happen. And we'll get the rest of those trailers out of the parking lot, get everything tucked in there for winter. And that's about all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from council?
I just have a quick question for the chief.
Please.
I know that you said that we're focusing on Santa Claus Lane and St. Nicholas Drive. Do you think there are other areas of the city that we have traffic violations that we need to be concerned about?
Oh, that's a never-ending problem on most roads. We've been doing periodic studies with our data counter, and we've noticed a pretty standard variation of most of the roads. But the Richardson Eye was always the worst and most dangerous roadway in the city. That gets a lot of speeding enforcement. But those are the two roads that have come to my attention. We regularly get complaints from citizens about some of the ancillary roads and neighborhoods and stuff, but nothing significant, no.
I noticed on 8th Avenue, when they redid the railroad tracks crossing, that they put the stop sign after you drive over the tracks. Is that because they didn't want they wanted to be able to not reduce the amount of cars being stacked up in that area to do that? Or I was kind of surprised when I saw that the other day.
I don't know the reason why. I could certainly call and inquire, because it was on this side of the tracks.
Yeah. But there was two in short distance, so I'm fine with it just being one on the old Richardson Highway. But that just caught me by surprise the other day when I drove over, and I was like, oh, I'm not stopping at the tracks. I'm stopping at the road now. So, all right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I think part of that has to do with the regulations for the buses, but I could be mistaken. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes,
Well,
Santa. I'm just curious, how many candidates do you have for your position there? That are
We had-
testing.
We had two tests put their name in for the lieutenant's position. One of them is an internal and another external that has 21 years experience, retired from Illinois, I think he's from. But both stellar candidates, great resumes, did really good on their initial testing. So we're excited.
You mean you're not going to try to steal anybody from Dupe again?
I told him he should give me a lieutenant and 3 officers for that captain I filled. So, but
There
no,
you go.
we didn't get any. We didn't get any applicants.
No, I appreciate you, by the way, that you were doing the enforcement on St. Nicholas. It's I drive it every day, and I can tell you it's hard to stay under the speed limit. I routinely set my cruise control as I leave. It's not that there's that many people out there when I leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, but coming home, there are people who are up my tailpipe so fast as soon as I come around the corner, I come onto St. Nicholas Drive, and they are so impatient. As soon as I turn off on my street, they zoom past me. I mean, it's like they, I don't know what, but they're just going extremely fast. I know the mayor mentioned that the DOT person clocked somebody somewhere in the 30 zone to going more than 60 something miles an hour, and that's just ridiculous down in front of Santa Claus house. And with the amount of traffic in and out of those, people crossing to take pictures and all that, we certainly don't need that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, we are taking a risk putting our data counter up on that road, because the last few times we put it on that road, we were getting a lot of ghosting from the highway. So we're going to mount that box low on a pole. We're just hoping it doesn't get stolen or vandalized, but I think it'll be okay if our people keep checking on it regularly. But yeah, we're going to get a good data count on it, and the enforcement seems to be picking up. So.
Any other questions? Oh. Thank you, Chief. I noticed, Madam Clerk, that Chief Heineken doesn't seem to be present. Is he?
Sorry,
Madam
Todd
Clerk.
Chambers is here with us tonight instead of the chief.
Oh, okay, I didn't even, here we go. Thank you. Deputy Chief Chambers, thank you. You're up.
Oh, thank you, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to present for the fire department. First of all, we'd like to thank Cody and and the folks at Public Works for putting up our new sign. They did a fantastic job, and we feel a little more integrated, and it's a lot more homogeneous. It's a really good looking sign they put up for us. And that old one was tired. It was time for it to go away. So we put it on the training building. So it didn't go to waste. A few things that we have going on is, fire department focuses quite a bit on training. We have a firefighter 1 class going on right now that we're doing jointly with the North Star Volunteer Fire Department and the Community and Technical College at UAF. There's about 30 people in it. 4 of them are ours. We've been grateful to see a little uptick in our volunteer applications. We've had 3 people that have joined in the past month, and it's offset some departures that are to be expected. We see that quite a bit in a transitional community like this. So that's heartening. Things are going well and morale is good there. We also have the State Firefighters Conference is held in Fairbanks from September 26th through the 30th. We'll have probably about 10 of our people that'll be able to take advantage of the training and professional development that's offered there. This is a statewide conference that's been put off for the last 2 years, of course, because of COVID. And a couple of our people are also pretty deeply involved in the planning and putting this conference on, including Captain Sam Sanders, who's the logistics officer and coordinates all the supplies and things people need. And I'm the lucky guy that decided to be the incident commander, so I get to take all the heat for what works and what doesn't. So we've got that going on. We did receive the new bunker gear that we ordered back in December. Supply chain issues and everything else that manufacturers are experiencing right now, it finally showed up. This is an amazing thing for us to receive. It's the first time the department's been able to replace 100% of our members' protective gear, and that stuff's not cheap. It was $83,000 worth, which we were able to use salary savings to pay for. The fact that this fills not just immediate needs, it also provides for some future needs as well. So we're sitting really well with that expenditure that was approved. So that's just good to have, and we appreciate it. And that's about all I got for you right now. If anybody's got any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them to the best of my ability.
Mr. Jacobson.
I have a question for you. Where is the location of the state fire conference at?
It's at the Westmark Hotel.
Okay. You won't be using the City of Fairbanks Fire Training Center at all for that conference?
Yes, we will. But there's about 200 to 300 people that'll be attending this. So there's classes all over the place,
Okay.
including the training center, as well as several other facilities.
The reason why I bring that up is we were discussing removing air conditioner units in September. So do you advise us to leave them in the training center for the conference or not?
I think you could take them out, to be honest with you, Councilman, because the way the weather's trending, I don't think we'll need them. If you can fit it into your work plan, absolutely.
All right, no problem. We can do that.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, up next is Ms. Glab, please.
Sorry, a little slow on the giddy up with the switching the mute off. For us, we had our policy meeting. We're working through that. We probably won't have the next one until October, at which time I'm hoping that we finish up a good portion of what we're working on right now so that we can move on to the next step. But can't say for sure on that until we have our next meeting. It just doesn't work for September. Logistics aren't working as far as scheduling. We also had our safety meeting since last council meeting. We went over a return to work policy that needs to be put in place, and we're fine tuning that to include that as part of the policy manual that we're working on. Other than that, I've been working with Chief Dutra for working towards the lieutenant position and working on helping out where I can.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Lab? All right, thank you so much. Councilwoman Welch, the FNSB representative report, please.
All righty. I attended a meeting on the 25th via Zoom. The ordinances, there were 4 ordinances that they decided to bring up on this. One is mayor has been allowed to pass a lease with that's less than of the Carlson Center, Activity Center, for less than the fair rentals. So they will be doing a lot of soccer and other stuff in the other programs in the Carlson Center. So that passed. The ordinance that amended the budget to do some service area matching grants and stuff like that passed. So that was a good thing for the service areas. Then there was an ordinance that they don't want to do business after 11:30 p.m. So that's the cutoff for the borough, and they shall not do anything before 7 a.m. also. So that passed without. And then there was the one that was mostly of interest to us out here, and that was the ordinance 2022-46. And that was the one that they wanted to amend it so that they pretty much muscled those of us out here so we couldn't talk to them. And we had talked about that at our last meeting. But they wanted to make sure that representatives were not allowed to give testimony. And there was a lot of people that testified, including Mr. Doran and our own mayor testified on a call in on that, and told them that, yeah, we understand why you want to have your meeting go along the way it's supposed to be going, but also telling the cities that they and the school district also that they may not speak on anything, because we are allowed to, as a representative, we're allowed to be a part of the debate. We're not allowed to vote, but we can debate. We can understand that you want to only have stuff that pertains to our cities, but what they had in there was one that we had taken an official stand on. So there was an issue with us coming in and saying, well, they want to talk about this that pertains to our city. Now, can we bring it before our city in time that we can discuss it at the meeting? And that was really kind of stupid for them to try to do that. So they did the easy thing. They postponed it all the way to 2023. And we'll see if it then passes at that point. So meanwhile, we can expect, among other things, that the Assembly member Wilson, who was the one that put this up, was the sponsor, that she would like to come out and have a talk with us and with the city and with the school board about how this can easier be. And I think what all of us said, including those of us who were representative that day, was if we are not sticking to something that is pertinent for our cities, all that it takes is the presiding officer to put down the gavel and say, wait a minute, now you're speaking not as a representative for your city, but you're coming in with your personal opinion. If you want your personal opinion, then you do it you can do that, but you have to do it as a citizen, and you have the 3 minutes. So I think they got that, and that's why they did that. So that was postponed. There were, in the comments at the end of it, kudos to the clerks for the brochures for their voting. So Melissa, please take your part of that was kudos too. So, and that's pretty much all that was discussed on that meeting. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, seeing none, since your name is mentioned, Madam Clerk, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. So I have been working a lot on elections, working on that pamphlet with the other clerks. Rochelle did an amazing job on that one, so kudos to her for that. I've also been working on a nice little how-to book for our new council member who will be coming on after the elections, and something that I can give out to additional council members as they come on board with us, kind of the down and dirty, nitty gritty parliamentary procedures and, you know, all that kind of stuff that you learn in that new council orientation, but just kind of a reference book for them to use. I've been working on the website. Excuse me. I sent you guys all an email letting you know that we're going to have the budget workshops October 24th through 26th from 7 to 10. We're going to have those in the chambers. And we also have our internal ones scheduled for September to start working on budgets. And that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions for our city clerk? All right, seeing none, move on to
I know has her
ongoing.
hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know had her hand up.
I know, go right ahead.
All right, just a question. Do we have any idea about whether we are going to start meeting in chambers and when?
Yes. So I got a little bit of an update from Universal Productions, and the brain of the system is the one piece that's missing. He says that that's on back order, but he's working on a workaround for us, because I told him that it's been a really long time and we really needed to get back in person. So he told me he would let me know this week if that workaround is going to be an option for us. So hopefully he gets back to me and that's a go, because I think that piece is back ordered for another little bit.
Okay, do we have any idea about whether we are going to continue to allow Zoom participation, or have it as a kind of a hybrid, like
It's going to be an option. Yeah, with the new system that Universal Productions is working on us with, we'll be able to integrate the Zoom into the chambers meeting, because we're going to have cameras and everything like that. So we can still offer hybrid meetings for, you know, when people just can't make it in, or they're traveling or what have you.
So I guess we'll have to come up with some rules for that too, don't we? So
Yeah,
we have it,
yeah.
like they did that at the borough a while back, allowing it, because I think our ordinances don't absolutely allow that.
Allow for that. Mhm.
Yeah, so I guess we had to make a new one to make it.
Yep, and I have a couple things mocked up for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Claus?
Yes,
I have
Mr.
a question
Jacobson.
for Melissa. Earlier this summer, there was some discussion about new office space at City Hall. Has there been any action taken on that? We looked at that one storage area and glass enclosed and.
Yeah, so I'm hoping the storage area still pans out. I think it would make a really great space for us to use, whether as a conference room or an employee break room or something like that. So hopefully that still works out. We're still waiting on the fire marshal to come and give us the okay for that. We did decide to go ahead and do the glass enclosure in the chambers. And that is being done by glass doctors, and it actually should be installed within the next like 3 weeks.
So what will be this new seating capacity in the chambers then, once that's in there?
We're gonna have to figure it out once the office is in there. It's kind of hard to visualize, you know. I mean, it's definitely going to take up some space. It's going to be 10 feet from the wall, so it will take up a little bit of that space. So we'll have to reevaluate it once it gets in, and we'll have to throw out some chairs and kind of see what we have left to deal with.
Okay.
But it will add 2 offices.
I think we usually get crowded during the annexation and taxation meetings more than any others. But if we have a hybrid system, perhaps a lot of the general public can attend that way as well.
That way, yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking. I think the Zoom thing is not going to go away.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Next up is number 10, citizens' comments, limited to 5 minutes each per citizen. And Madam Clerk, I believe we have at least one person.
We have 2 people, and they want to talk about the Chambers project. So I don't know if you want them to talk now, or if you want to talk when you introduce that request.
Well, I'd hate to withdraw the opportunity for them to speak now, because they could speak now. And if there's specific questions during our discussion, if there is a discussion, they're welcome to have their 5 minutes each. Thank you. Hi.
Hey, this is
Sorry, I
Misty,
thought-
your president. How are you guys?
Hi, Misty.
I have a question. I thought people can't speak on stuff that's on the agenda under the general comments. I thought it had to be something that's not on the agenda. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could be right. That's right, Dijon. Thank you. Thank you.
So
very much.
I think we should wait.
All right, that settles that. It's a good thing citizens' comments, because the comments would be about an agenda item, are closed today without comment. So we go to old business item number 11, A. It's ordinance 22-17 to amend the pay scale. It's pages 11 to 16. And I would like Ms. Glab and Ms. Fogarty, if they have something to say about it, please do it now. Thank you.
I would like to request that the council amend the ordinance 2217 to include the term account specialist to the title. Other than that, I didn't have anything else to add.
Hey, Ellie, can you go into why you want that?
Based on questions brought forward by council members and staff, as far as making sure that there was a logical elevation and appropriately so with the knowledge base.
So the candidate will start off as account specialist.
And
And
then
what
elevate
should we-
to utility accountant after they
After-
receive certifications.
Okay, thank you, Ellie.
I have a question for Ellie.
Please.
So when we make this amendment, should we start off by saying account specialist, utility accountant, so that the order is where they're going to start and then graduate to?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions so far? Or any other comments from Ellie or Tricia? All right, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and I will entertain a motion. on
Move
old
to
business.
adopt ordinance 2217.
Second, Welch.
Move to amend by changing the title to account specialist, utility accountant.
Second,
Do we have to introduce it first and then amend it?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any discussion? No, seeing that. Madam Clerk?
All right, Mr. Kermer,
Yes.
Mrs. Welch,
yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Claus.
Yes. Now we have already consented item B under old business and we're
We need,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
point of information, we need to vote on the amended.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Kermer,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Claus.
Yes. So moving on to new business, item A, we have ordinance 2219 to amend the 2022 general fund budget to purchase parcel number 3, the Howard Park property. That's pages 24 and 25.
Move to introduce and advance ordinance 2219 to special meeting on September 12th.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
All right, Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Kermer.
Yes.
Anybody wish to change their vote? All right. Ordinance 2219 has been introduced and advanced. Item B under new business was consented, and item C, North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce reallocation of funds request. That's on page 58. And here we go.
So we do
Yeah.
have
Citizens
Misty
comment?
Post-Canny and Mr. Rixey with us tonight to talk about this.
Sorry, I was a little slow and I wasn't quite sure if it was my turn or not yet. First of all, thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to come forth. We have attempted a few different times to come with a few different ideas. Right now we're requesting the motion for, we said reallocation, but it's really just kind of pursuing the same project that was issued back in 2020 with the funds that were given to us in 2021. For the bed tax funds in 2020, we did request that we get funds for a new building. Throughout the seasons that nothing had really moved forward with this board, we have moved forward with that, the tear down of the old visitor center, which was inhabitable at this point, is to happen here within this next, I believe, week or so. Howard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say it's within this next week that should be happening. We anticipated it a little sooner, but with permits and funds, things that we needed to get in order to be able to tear that down, it took a little extra time. From that, we do plan on putting that property out to bid, and those funds that we get from that will also be used for a new welcome center. We have a couple different interests in mind. We had wanted to come before you guys a few different times for a few different ideas. Talking to the mayor, some of what we wanted it's not gonna fit in with the city. We are still in conversation with Matt Gavora for the property that's in front of the Safeway, in between like the COVID Center and Safeway. We're still looking at building the same size cabin. The difference between what was and what will be is technology year round, being able to bring some of the items to more of a local sense. We really want to create more of a business center. One of the biggest ideas that we've had as of late is making sure that we are giving high school students the opportunity to job shadow and invest and investigate in different careers, whether that be the trades or pursuing college, and how to get a hold of those grant funds that are out there, the scholarships. That will be one of the main focuses, as well as having a room for people to rent. People saying like nonprofits, school boards, other businesses that may not have a place, such as ourselves right now, to have their monthly meetings. Those will be out there for rent, as well as available to the local public. Since starting with the new board as of January, our big push has been through Facebook, because that's what's readily available to us. So we started in January, just kind of pushing out some of the local events going on, reaching out to some local businesses, letting them know what our plans are, what our new perception is, and how we're going to help bring more commerce to North Pole. I think having some of those high school programs will definitely bring some interest. Having a building that other people can use will be of interest. Having it in the specific location that we're looking at will also help bring outsiders in, such as just our year-round tourists. Sorry, my husband's leaving. Bring them in. But since they're starting the Facebook, we've generated new followers up to our current audience is 2,041 or yeah, 2,041. And then 12% of that is North Pole, which we intend to grow. 7% is Fairbanks, and then the rest is outside. So within this last year, we've reached an extra 18,000 people. We've had an additional 750 page visits and 211 new likes. So we're generating new interest in North Pole just through that Facebook page, and really feel like bringing an actual building for them to visit and go to will make a huge difference in people stopping by, and the visibility of where we want it is really important. So really what we're asking is to use those funds as we see fit, whether that be on purchasing the land or using it towards the construction of the building, or on appliances or different technologies we need once we get it built. So we're really just asking to use that as we see fit to make that dream reality.
Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Cromer?
How big are you trying to build a new building?
So this is Howard Rixey. I'll weigh in there. Just for a point of reference, Misty had mentioned the old cabin. The old cabin is being torn down next Monday, the 12th of September. As far as the new building goes, it's going to be 20 by 28, similar to the West Madden log cabin over there by Santa Claus House. Similar in size.
Are there any other questions? I have a couple myself, but anyone else? Okay. Well, this is for both of you. Is there a particular general budget for next year? Because I'm kind of wondering about staffing, if you're going to open up a welcome center. And also I'm wondering about the right-of-way discussion we've had, where the city would have to pay, from what I understand, about $15,000 a year, pretty much forever, to keep a right-of-way clear from snow, et cetera. Howard, you might have more info on that yourself.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So one, as far as the right-of-way goes, that was one of the proposals Missy had mentioned that we brought forth, and the mayor said with discussions with Danny and company there that was a no-go. So that's why we're pursuing other alternatives. Having said that, though, so Matt Gavora he's trying to cut out or carve out the plot that we want, but that's a part of lot 3, which is a very large lot. And working with the borough planning commission and all that, they sit there and said that in order to do that, there was going to have to be a variance on that particular road. So the original proposal is potentially to have the city adopt that road as a city road and pick up all the maintenance and everything else. So that was our understanding. That was shot down or not feasible for the city to consider there. So now we're going to go forth and at least further discussions with Matt. And then what's going to happen is he's going to have to request a variance on the replatting there, which then that means the city is going to have to consider approving or endorsing that variance before it's completed the platting process. Does that help clarify that?
It does. Thank you. And as far as the staffing goes, if there is a structure built, let's say in the Gavora Mall or even elsewhere, who's going to staff it, and where does the income come in to remunerate them?
So I can speak to that there. So obviously we're not going to need staffing this coming year because we'll still be in a construction phase. One of our hopes is to partner with the Santa Seniors and the Holiday Heights residents and other more mature residents of the city of North Pole, much like what the USO does with their volunteer workforce to help man it. That's part one of the alternative for staffing there. One also is if we are going to be partnering with some of these new businesses that are still doing somewhat like pop-up businesses or working out of their home. And we allow them to set up shop into the Welcome Center for a week or whatever the case may be, that they'll be helping work if you would, manning the desk and whatnot as part of that there. And then also we're going to have to consider having a paid employee. I mean, previously, prior to 2021, I mean, we had a paid executive director. I mean, our budget, I mean, it didn't spend a lot. It was only $12,000 a year. And that was just during the summer months, principally there. But yeah, it's something we're going to have to deal with there. Obviously, we'll explore other avenues such as I know we had a gaming permit, and there is I'm going to be encouraging the chamber to reactivate that because there's some opportunities to put that in play and bring some income to the Welcome Center as well. So nothing definitive there, but a bunch of ideas that I think are all very feasible.
Thank you. I also had a question about, there's been some discussion locally anyway, about setting a precedent with respect to the bed tax. For example, if we approve an allocation of a certain amount for any nonprofit organization, and that nonprofit organization is not able to perform or do what it said it was going to be able to do, whether it's because of COVID or any other reason, if we approve a change in what that nonprofit entity asked for after the fact, that sets a precedent for other nonprofits to do the same thing. How would you address that?
Well, if I may, Misty, how would I respond to that? In our original application for the funds in question, we did say that the funds were going to be $20,000 of the funds for that year were going to be dedicated to either repairing or rebuilding a visitor center. So the purpose of the money is not there. It's a case of executing it within the fiscal year. So that's the only issue there. And I'm not the expert on the bed tax allocations and everything else there. I believe if there's not a penalty in regards to not completing the project other than not getting the last 10%, the 10% hold. I think where the penalty comes into play is the request for monies the following year. Again, I'm not the expert, but I think that's the case. And in this case, so the $20,000 that we're talking about here comes from the 2020 funds that was approved by the council in December of 2019. And then last year, so December of 2021, right? Y'all already approved us and allocated, distributed us 4,000 and some change based on our request. So I don't know if that's going to be placed. So I don't know all the moving parts there. I'm not the expert, but I can't speak to the precedence thing there, but I would hope you guys give us due consideration, since this is truly, out of all the things that the bed tax committees considers for distributions of funds, the chamber is one of the most viable and contributing parts to bringing tourism and commerce to the city of North Pole. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Misty, anything to add?
I would concur with Howard. The original request did specifically list to construct a 24 by 36 log cabin to include a standing loft. So it's not really, in our situation, we're not changing what it was meant for. It's just the timeline of kind of where it is. In reality, when we're talking about the 20,000, I did ask that it be used how we deem fit in a way, whether that be technology for the Welcome Center, the purchase of land for the Welcome Center. I kind of listed it out a little bit different, but it's realistically going to the same place. I have no idea how the bed tax works. I'll be completely upfront with that. So I couldn't speak to that portion of it.
So addressing what Howard just said before, the going along what you raised, that would mean the council would have an option to say, yes, you still have the 20,000 that was allocated in couple of years ago. And we're going to reduce whatever amount you might be asking for this time around by 20,000, for example. So I think we're better off postponing a decision on this till we have a full council present, all 7 members, including the mayor, and give it due consideration between now and our next meeting. We have a comment from Ms. Welsh.
Yeah, I think even though Mr. Howard Rixey already had a chance to answer some of the questions, I think he still is owed his 5 minutes of if he so choose. I don't think he got a chance to
Oh
testify.
yeah, you can, sure, of course.
I appreciate that opportunity here. I would just say this here, as far as my 5 minutes go. Obviously, we have been, I say we, the chamber have been engaged with the city council in one form or another, directly or indirectly through the mayor or the city offices and whatnot over the course of the summer. And we were really hoping to move forward with our project and actually lay some concrete before the snow falls. Right now, we won't be able to achieve that. However, given that our first proposal as far as the land swap was turned down per se, and then the right-of-way was turned down and not feasible there, we're left with the whole idea of purchasing property, whatnot. And so having this $20,000 lingering, laying out there doesn't give us a rock solid foundation for us to negotiate in good conscience with Matt Gavora to at least make a purchase or an offer to purchase here in the very near future. I mean, quite frank, we have lunch with him tomorrow to talk about the outcome of this particular meeting here. I understand why you want to wait for the rest of the council there. So don't correct me if I'm wrong. The only person that's missing out of the council is the mayor. Is that correct?
2 of us.
Okay. I'm
The
sorry.
mayor.
Oh, okay.
Anton
So-
Keller and the mayor are absent today.
Yeah. So as it stands right now, then, so we wouldn't have full consideration of the council and for another 2 weeks. Is that a fair statement?
I think-
September 17th, 19th.
And it's not that anybody has any negative issues with the council. I think you all have some new energy. I've attended a few of your meetings, and I think I get a positive feel for it all, but I'd like to make sure that we're all on the same page here on city council.
I understand.
Ms. Welch?
May I ask a question, Mr. Rixey?
Sure.
I'm curious if you have considered and have had a chance to speak to the people from Three Bears, who seem to be very open towards allocating a piece of land, and in what I heard them say, without being totally official about it, was that they may even be interested in helping create such a building on that piece of land. Have you had a chance to talk to Three Bears at all?
Misty, correct me if I'm wrong, but I got at least I got the impression third hand there that we weren't supposed to deal with them directly. We were supposed to be going through the mayor, so it wouldn't disrupt anything. And I mean, my assumption was based on the meeting minutes there, where it was saying that the mayor was saying that yes, Three Bears was willing to consider offering a space in their properties.
Mhm.
I didn't hear anything about building a building or anything like that.
It was mentioned also by the other people who are helping them develop, that they have done such things in other places. So that's what I'm saying. It's not. That's why I was curious if you had had a chance to speak to them or not. So
No, we'd love to contact them directly and have that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, to me, if we're pushing it out 2 weeks before we make a decision on any of this, I would certainly suggest that you look into that, because if you build a building on a piece of land in the middle of a parking lot with roads that are substandard, and they are those 2 pieces of road, I mean, all you had to do is drive down them. They're substandard, the ones that we were talking about possibly clearing snow on. They're substandard. They're not something the city would ever take over because they're not built to the standard that, for example, like the roads that we just tonight in consent accepted. They are built to the standard that we require them with everything that goes within that. So I think that would be another issue. Now, if there were buildings and businesses down on that piece of property that goes from the car wash and further towards Fairbanks on that area there, then it would make sense to have a road there. But right now it's not, it's not something. So that would just be my thought.
We have reached out to my company. My 9 to 5 is Exclusive Paving, University Ready Mix here in North Pole, and they are willing to help us bring that road up to par. Part of the other conversations that we've had and part of us trying to get this concrete on the ground this year was to eventually turn that piece of property into more of a visitor center, more of a history of North Pole, if the Three Bears decided to move forward. The way it stands right now, it's difficult to gain a lot of traction with no physical location. And the time set for Three Bears was never concrete. We had tried to get that number previously, and it was possibly next year, possibly the year after. And so the feasibility of us continuing to grow the North Pole Chamber, while it can be done, and we are proving that through Facebook, we just wanted another avenue to help bring some of those local businesses something concrete right now. So we are getting bids to see how much it's going to cost, both from Exclusive and from Blackhawk Works. We should have those ideally by tomorrow to bring those roads up to standard if we were to build in the location that we're speaking. So that is something that we're considering and trying to figure out how to make that better.
Ms. Welch?
Just a point of information on the Three Bear. They intend to break ground as soon as the weather permits this in the spring, and they expect to open their businesses, both the store itself and the lumberyard and the what am I trying to say, the tool, whatever one it is that they're going to have on the end there.
Ace Hardware?
Yeah, the hardware. Sorry. Ace Hardware is what I was trying to say. And they expect to have that open in October. The only thing that it depended on was arrival of, I think, the machinery that runs the cooling cabinets for their grocery store. That was the only part that was currently on back order, and they wanted, I think, October 1st, but I think they had a due date on the 15th or somewhere around there for those parts. So they definitely, that's their goal, to open up in October. So
thank you.
I just want to offer one clarification too. As far as roads go, y'all were mentioning 2 roads. There was only 1 road in question. So, I mean, the parcel that we're looking at here is adjacent to the parking lot of Safeway, and then the other road is in between. The actual road in question there was the roadway that was in between the proposed lot and Pagoda, or the COVID testing station and the car wash, which extends out to Fennel. So which there is a portion there that is not paved from the car wash to Fennel, which is what we're exploring as far as the cost of that and bringing it up to standard. But more to come on that, and hopefully we'll be able to offer you guys some clarification on that at the September 17th meeting.
I have a question. Are you guys concerned about the flooding in that area? I know last year it was bad back there.
So I'm good friends with Ben Otis there. We were actually just talking about this yesterday. So the flooding principally was affecting where the COVID testing station was there, because he was saying that or Matt, I can't remember who said they were pumping for like 3 days straight to get the water out of that. But if you notice right now, there's a lot of landfill that's piled up in the lot in question there. So our first thing that we would do is actually raise the grade of that plot before even constructing anything. So, and then also the other consideration too is if we're using that lot for the Welcome Center, then that means Gavora will have to put the snow from the big parking lot elsewhere, which will probably go into the remainder part of lot 3. So behind where it normally is pushed.
I got a question.
Mr. Jacobson.
Howard, would it be possible before our next meeting that you could give the city clerk a map or a proposed plat or replat of what properties we're talking about so that we can kind of really visualize what it is and where you're going to put it, rather than just a conceptual, really actually where is the square footage of property that Matt Gabor is willing to sell you, so we can kind of see where that would be on that piece of property.
Thanks for asking, Jeff. There, the city actually already has that. It was in our original package that we submitted back in June. I can resubmit, but the city already has that. We gave them plat plans and everything.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Melissa's got a question or a comment on that.
Melissa?
Yeah, so Howard's right. We do have all of that stuff, and I would be happy to send it to you, Jeff. The problem with the proposal is that the mayor was not willing to sponsor it to bring it to you guys.
So we have it, but it wasn't given to the council members. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. He did not want to sponsor that to bring it to you guys.
Could we just have the information available rather than it having to be part of an ordinance or sponsor?
Yep, I can send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
As I recall, I think his major concern was having to maintain that right away, as I mentioned before, which came out to about $15,000 a year for every year.
Yeah, they actually had our snow removal contractor out to look at it, and that's what he proposed that it would cost to add that to our other part of what we pay for snow.
Yeah, so it's just another element, but I'd be happy to review all of this stuff. I think all the council members would be between now and our next scheduled meeting. So I think we're probably all in agreement to postpone making a decision on the request until our next council meeting. Is there any objection to that?
Does it have to be a formal proposal to that?
I honestly don't know. I'd have to ask the mayor.
Move to
No, you gotta ask.
postpone consideration of the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce request to the meeting of September 19th.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mrs. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Foz.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Howard. Thanks, Misty. Appreciate your time on here. Time for council comments.
Sure. Mr. Kramer.
I have a comment about the leaving out the information that I think all the council should have, just because he doesn't want to sponsor it. I think that's
Point
not
of
fair
it-
for the council.
Point
should
of
be the council.
information, your comments for city council comments cannot be about anything that we have discussed tonight.
Yes,
No
they
comment.
can. They can.
You can't take things up debated again.
I'm not
as
giving.
far
I'm
as-
trying to get why. I'm trying to get an explanation, I guess, but it's okay. No comment. I'm fine.
Madam Clerk, any comments?
Am I incorrect in that, Miss Dion?
I mean, we can't debate anything, but I guess he can say something.
Yeah, I just want to get a clarification on why in general, the council is missing out on key information that the council should know beforehand. That would be the information that was presented to us. Would have been nice to have that in front of us. Just because somebody doesn't want to sponsor something, I think that's unfair. But other than that, no comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Skips.
Yeah, I would kind of like to know that information also. Oh, and Melissa, any correspondence that you're sending out, can you send to my personal email, please? My davidskips@yahoo.
Okay, but I don't like to send council stuff to private emails. You know that your
Okay.
email can be.
Okay, that's fine.
Matter of
It's just that
public
I don't check my city email, but the day before my council meeting.
Okay,
But now that I know you're gonna send it, now I'll go and make sure I check it.
Okay.
All right.
And, it's a matter of public record. So if you start getting your private email involved in it, it gets kind of.
Yeah, they could do. Okay, all right, yeah, thank you.
I'd be happy to send you an email to your regular email that I sent you something to your.
Yeah, that'd work. That'd
Trying to
work
help
great.
you out. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
no,
do
that'll
send-
work.
I do send things pretty regularly.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mrs. Welch.
Just school is back in session out there. The kids are really getting used to the idea about the school bus and the pickups and stuff like that. So please make sure that you are vigilant at the assigned bus stops. Even if you don't know where they're at, you'll probably see it with large amount of kids congregating. So please take very good care of our children out there. Don't run over them. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jacobson.
Thank you. Just want to express again appreciation to all the work that our city employees do and our department heads. I really am impressed with how much is being accomplished, and I speak from experience from years past where it was a struggle to get so much done. So kudos to everyone. I also am concerned that we don't have all the information that would be helpful for us to make an informed decision. My philosophy is always give as much information as possible, and then you have fewer questions or confusion. So I would just encourage us to be able to get information for future events. I also just want to say thank you to Ino. Your borough rep reports are so informative and detailed. We never get anything like that at the city of Fairbanks and their council chambers. And you really do a good job of helping us feel like we're part of that meeting and knowing exactly what was discussed. And I appreciate the time that you put in to attend those meetings. I know they're long and it takes a big chunk of your time to do that. And I just wanted to say thank you to that. Thank you to you for that.
You're welcome.
I also just want to apologize to my fellow council members and also to the North Pole City voters. I missed the deadline for the election pamphlet to submit my bio and nonpartisan statement. I'm quite embarrassed about that, to see the pamphlet out there with just my picture, which kind of snuck in there at the very end of it. That was a disservice to everyone, and I apologize for that. And that's it for my closing comments.
Mr. Claus.
Thank you. Well, I hope everybody enjoys the nice weather while we have it. And I appreciate everybody's bearing with me this evening. Thank you so much. Is there a move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Any objections? Not seeing any. We are adjourned at 8:10 p.m.